Hello and welcome to another episode of Dinks with Kinks. As always, I am your host, John Dondera, and joining me tonight, as always, Mr. Shepard
Good evening, everyone.
and Miss Rebecca.
Hello.
I always feel weird if I don't introduce Shep first because I feel like he won't love me as much, and I need Shepard to love me.
I need Shepard to love me too.
We all need Shepard to love us.
We all do.
You keep up that thing you were doing, and you have all the love.
Oh, okay.
All right. Oh, we have an exciting topic tonight. Mr. Shep, do you
Whatever
want to
could
tell
that
us what
be?
we're talking about?
I never know what we're talking about. I think it has something to do with flatulations,
Flagellation.
not
Flogging.
flatulence,
Not,
kitties.
yeah, we're not talking about fart stuff because it's very close to fart stuff, but it's flatulent. Damn it! I sat
You
before this
practice it so
podcast
much.
trying to pronounce this.
Self-flagellation.
Flagellation.
No, flagellation or flogging, impact play.
I really wish they could see your face when you're doing that.
I know. We switched to audio, so you can no longer see
WNBC.
the
WNBC.
upset face of me going, I pronounced this how many times before we started recording?
Too many.
Over and over and over. I was driving on
Which-
nuts with it.
Which
You
after that,
were.
after the last few times, I knew you would fail as soon as we went live, just because you practice it so much.
Right? I do that. I do that with guests as well. If I can't pronounce their name, I'll practice it over and over and over again. And the minute I introduce them, a dick
And-
falls out of my mouth.
But the question is, are we still dinks with kinks? Because we now have a female co-host here.
Well, she's a dinka.
A dinka?
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's the
Danke.
fe-
Okay.
Danka? No, not German. Thank you. A dinka. Yeah, I guess we're still dinks. I don't think dinks is necessarily a gender.
Why can't it be gender
We have to be.
neutral?
I
Just
think
making sure.
It's gender neutral.
Okay,
could
I
be-
was just making sure because in this day
You know
we have
what?
to do
I'll
it
look up
properly.
because that's what I do.
Right? Do that research. But anyway, while we research that, we are talking about
Research
flogging
Rebecca.
and
That is
impact
now
play.
your new name.
Now, Shep, you may have a little experience with flagellation. Am I correct in thinking that?
As long as you give up trying to say the official scientific word, yes, I will say yes.
You're good. You're good at the flogging and the impact play. And as
People
long
have
as
said such, but you know me, I just try to do what I can for the body in front of me.
you do, and you are magical when it comes to that. I've witnessed multiple times him performing this, but I would love to say that this is a brand new kink that Mr. Shep has discovered, but in fact, this has been around forever, and I don't mean flogging for points of punishment. I'm talking about getting kinky with it. I'm turned on by either being flogged or flogging people. In fact,
No?
the first depiction of erotic impact play was well in the 5th century BC.
Wow.
There is a fresco inside an Etruscan tomb. Okay. Etruscan tomb of whipping, where two men are portrayed flogging a woman in an erotic situation. It is a very, and I will post this on our Twitter.
It's
So
interesting
basically,
that
our normal Saturday night,
Yeah,
two men flogging a woman.
it is. It looks like it's this podcast right here. It's the staff.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
We've been doing
No.
this since the 5th century BC, and I'm going to post this image
more
on our
of-
We're
Twitter.
immortal.
that's more of a Sunday afternoon, Rebecca. That sounds more like a training session than a real flogging.
Yeah.
When you have
That's
two
true.
men.
That's true. That is true.
So I will post that image. But yeah, it's been around since the BC, before kink, if you misspelled kink.
So I wonder
Don't fact
then,
check me.
if was it kinky first before the Christians use it to abuse themselves for or
No.
after?
I don't think it would. I mean, okay, well, we could probably go into that, but
Well, to be honest, this is an act of violence. And I'm going to say violence was always first. And it's the people who, had the violence done to them and go, wait a minute, this gave me a boner.
Oh no, not the Bonner.
This gave me a boner, so now I want to try this when I'm not getting punished. Or I watch somebody get it done, like, because, they used to do floggings as public displays, to ward off people creating crimes. Little do they know they were, creating a generation of people who are like, I kind of want to do that in my bedroom.
Yes.
Uh,
And oftentimes you would associate the punishment style, like the real horrifying punishment style, with the like a single tail bullwhip type of thing, because that really tore skin and did actual damage. Whereas the floggers, unless they were really really tough leather and stuff like that, wouldn't do as much, and you just don't see them used in like the public punishment, stuff like that. It's more of a more personalized punishment back in the day.
oh,
From,
absolutely.
from my understanding.
Here, I just realized I could put this image in.
Oh, tell us
Oh,
where
yeah.
you can put it.
I can share this image with you guys, so we now know.
As long as it's not one of your body parts again.
No.
Okay.
oh, what a shame.
But yeah, this is
Always the
literally a
defender.
picture of a
Mr.
man, two men taking turns both whipping with a stick and with the hand a woman who is
Whipping with a
both
stick.
doing sexual. I'm gonna tell you right now, she is getting
That
it
looks
from
like
both
an
ends.
Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, and this is from
Definitely.
like the 5th century BC. This is old, so it just goes to show you. Don't think that anything, kinky anything is new. Kinky's been
you-
around since the dawn of time.
You lost me at whipping with a stick. Come on now, use the proper terms, or else I'm going to have to deny you your next leather massage.
All right, Mr. Shep, what are the proper terminology? Actually,
Well,
I tell you
I would
what,
associate stick with caning, perhaps, maybe.
caning.
Caning would be a more term if you're using a stick instead of you can't whip with a stick.
You can't whip with a stick. You are right. Now,
I'm
let
just
me ask you this
saying.
question. If you could sum up what impact play is in a 3-sentence arc.
Oh my. I couldn't.
Okay.
There's
well, I tell you
too much
what,
fun to it.
use as many sentences as you like and just give us a brief overview of what impact play is.
Well, loosely speaking, impact play is, the use of any sort of implement, because the tools are wide ranging, to cause either sharp or blunt force on a human body, in the shortest sentence I can think of.
Actually, yeah, that makes pretty sense. It is the act of causing, impacts to the human body using instruments or your bare hand. You can, of course, I think bare hand spanking is a whole different ball game and a whole different
Yeah.
kink.
Yes,
And we're-
because you have. I can't do hands because, the massage therapist hands, they're too tender, so the shock of that just gets to my hands too quickly, unlike others. But yes, hands would be the most base. Then you can get into riding crops, canes. Some people even use spoons.
I did not know about the spoons.
Well, I mean, sure you could easily break an easy spoon, but
Oh, you know what?
the rounded impact is still very focal point impact.
Actually, I did read an article about wooden spoons.
Yes,
The
wooden
large and
spoons.
cook wooden spoons, and that usually also entails into I wouldn't say incestual, but kind of very Freudian type
Yes,
very Freudian esque.
Wooden spoons were used as a punishment in my house and not in a good way growing up.
But that's the thing.
They're used as a what is it? A punny in this house because I shake it at them and I'll say, "I'll get you spooner later."
Oh, I like it.
Oh,
But that's the thing. People have that fetish. Getting chased with
I
that
can see
wooden
that.
spoon. I want to get spanked by my mom with a wooden spoon. Except, hopefully, not your real mom, but like an older woman pretending to be my mom. And I get sexually aroused by that.
Hmm.
Not me particularly.
Yes, yes, but impact it can just go to any series of items or appendages that can be used to, again, impact another person. That's why it's such a wide variety. Whereas floggers being one of the more well known, of course.
Absolutely. I knew at a very young age I was not into impact play. The first time I had to go fetch a switch. As a child, that was not one of those things that really tipped over my adolescence when, somebody went, go get a switch. Or the time my actually incredibly hot teacher paddled me in school back when that was still a thing, did zero for me.
Or I
Uh,
think they would grab a ruler, something like that. One of those.
Oh, we actually had a wooden paddle in my school, in my elementary school. And you really think, were those kids really misbehaving? Because they wanted to act out, or did they want to get a paddling? Because that's a paddling.
Well, I mean, you could probably tell by their reactions. One would be like, "Ow! Oh my!" The other one would be, "Oh my!"
Oh my.
I mean, "Ow!
I don't
Ow!"
know. I mean, growing up, I didn't like to get spanked or paddled or any of that, but I certainly very much like it now. And I don't know.
But I think that's what it is. It really depends on like when it triggered to why you like it.
Mm.
That
Yes,
that. Go ahead,
and
Mr. Shep.
I will say just for the point where you said the switch and the thing it immediately turned you off to impact. I will just tell people that anything you may have felt that in the past and such and experienced and it totally turned you off, I would say don't use that to completely close off your world to impact play because there are many types. That was a very hard and sharp pain example, but there are a lot of more blunt or soft even impact styles that you would never know about if you turned yourself off just because of one very, very small little taste of what that really is or can be for you.
It's all about context too, I think.
Yes.
I like where your head is at when it's happening.
Yes, and one reason why John usually brings anybody that they find is someone that has experienced impact. He usually brings them to me.
Because I will say this, the one thing I will brag about Shep, well, I brag about Shep for a lot of reasons, but his number one best quality is the man knows impact play. And not just the science behind it, but he actually knows the practice of between. I've seen him gently flog somebody to the point where it looked like a massage, to the point where even I'm wincing a little bit every time I hear that thing crack. And it really does depend on the person. I have experienced because I'm not one without trying things as an adult. I have tried impact play as an adult in the proper context. I much prefer to be the whacker than the wacky.
See, I'm the
Well,
opposite. I would like I don't get anything like if I don't know like I'm like you want to do something to me all day long, sure, but like the the other side of it doesn't bring me. I'm like okay,
This is I don't yeah I don't think this is one of those flip flop kinks.
no,
You are either in one side one market or the other.
oh
Would
yeah,
you agree, Shep, as being the I guess the professional here?
Well, you could say that for some, but you have to also um, include all the switches out there
You're
that
right.
like a little bit of everything. Because
Mhm.
we have your hard DOMs, your hard subs, but then of course you have your switches.
I'm always a hard
And
dom.
yes, and you also admitted that you don't like the wacky, but when are you not wacky?
I am
Is
always
my
wacky,
question.
and I am a very avid whacker. Um,
Okay, I have a question. I mean,
Mm,
because I don't get any enjoyment out of the doing the act, committing the act. I don't like, I get the most enjoyment having the act done to me. What enjoyment do you get out of it? Like for you to, like, I don't understand. Like, I really don't. What is it for you? What do you guys get out of it?
I'll let John go first because I'm curious about his as someone that switches up a little bit here and there.
uh, to be honest, it's more if it's pleasure to the sub. Like, it's not. I don't necessarily get anything from the action itself. Like, if you weren't into it, I would not be into it. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
But I'm one of those people. I enjoy doing it because I am. This is something I'm very capable of doing well, and I can use it to give you pleasure. Well, not you, but you, as in the royal you, pleasure. So if my partner is into it, I am very into it because I'm very good at doing it. It's something that I'm very comfortable doing. And I would say my satisfaction from that is seeing the satisfaction of my partner.
Very nice. For me,
Sure.
it's relatively the same because I am, I guess, what you would consider one of those sub dom classes. I think they call the daddy dom, which doesn't mean I am in that the daddy daughter or whatever role, but just that's the title because I guess they classify the daddy dom as the more guiding and nurturing type. And so, in essence, even though I am giving the floggings and stuff like that, I mean, sorry, just I am doing all the flogging and such, my aim is to still give the receiver what they seek or need.
But I
So
do
I'm
know.
not
Oh,
taking what I want. I'm actually giving what they need, in essence.
Mm.
and I do know people who are sadists. They get off on causing people pain, and not necessarily malicious pain. It's that whole pain for pleasure thing. But they get off on inflicting the actual action
Mhm.
of inflicting that pain. So, I'm
And
not
I am
saying
not.
that's how all DOMs are. Like, usually the person doing the whacking, the flogging, um, is doing it just for their partner. There are many people who are classified as sadists that enjoy giving just the action of causing somebody either pain or just the control of you are being beaten down. So,
Yes. And I simply try to learn why that person is stepping up to the cross because in most dom and sub relationships and stuff, you spend time with that one person or persons and such and get to learn about them. Me, by nature, working at different events, it's unless there's a few regulars and such. Majority of the people are people you're meeting for the first time, so you can't establish that deeper understanding and relationship. So I simply tell them how I'm going to begin, and I'll go more in depth unless they signal me, and from there I just watch how their body reacts. If it doesn't like something, I adapt. If it likes something, I'll dig deeper into what I'm doing.
absolutely, I fully agree with that. And like I said, just like you said, there are different, varying levels of. I mean, I guess the best word would be for force. Varying levels of force between a more gentle flogging, like seems to be right here, where this strikes me more of what you do, Shep, of just the twirling of, and I'll post all these pictures. I just shared a picture with them of a woman flogging a man's back with what would be the proper terminology for what she's using right there?
Those cat of nine tails,
Cat of nine tails.
which are usually the floggers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this level of impact, which is actually where'd it go? This young lady is very red and it looks like has some blood on her. And she topless. There are boobies in that picture. It's going to be our first Twitter post with the boobies. Go us. But, and you can see the big smile on her face. She is, obviously getting a fairly rough flogging. And she seems to be real into it. So there are different levels of what you want and how deep you want to go.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about some of those markings on her stomach, but yeah.
Shep, I just grabbed these images from Wikipedia. I didn't do that to her. Don't.
I love how he's analyzing it.
Yeah, he is. He's just like,
I mean-
Well, this is first and foremost in the educational podcast.
This
No matter how
absolutely is.
silly and goofy we are, and so the reason why I look at them from those perspectives is that there's not without many safety concerns and things you should be aware of when doing any kind of impact play, vlogging or otherwise. And why I specifically looked around her stomach and such is because that is where the rib cage ends and you have nothing but exposed organs. They're unprotected from impact. And so even some of the most mild impacts, if they're hit to the kidneys or in the bladder area there where they don't have the added protection, you could cause internal bleeding accidentally just from that.
Shep, you are a great asset to this podcast. I'm gonna tell you right now because I would never even thought about bringing up that aspect. I'm going to tell a story about some ways it can go wrong, but I did not think about actual internal damage from flogging because I don't think about it being that type of damage. So
That's why even when you're flogging someone from behind, one of the first safety rules or things that are told to you when training is never hit from the bottom of the rib cage to the hips because that's exposed even from behind, kidneys and every such, and enough impact can cause that percussive damage or that percussive force to hit your internal organs.
nice. Well, I mean, not nice, but it's good to know that information for, especially because one thing we want our audience to do is try this stuff at home. We always encourage going out and exploring, and that's a very, very important thing to know. Your organs don't feel pain like we do. They don't take damage like our skin does. I can wallop, my skin a good amount, but my internal organs bruise a lot easier than my skin does. So, and I've learned that in many cases, not flogging, of course. And I never even thought about that with flogging. And I bet you a lot of people don't think about the fact that you can actually tear up your insides from what you do on the outside.
As a example of percussive, power and such, and I'll give you another example, which is which is actually good for anybody to learn and use at home, because if someone has a congested lungs and stuff like that, you actually put a pillow under their chest and just lay them down forward. And along their back and lungs, you cup your hands so you have a little bit of an air pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and then you actually do pound their back like a drum almost. And because of that, that pocket of air that you're smacking into their back almost, not like hard, but just really strong, that actually sends the shock waves into the lungs and helps break up the stuff inside the lungs. It actually almost forces people to cough. And that's just a little bit of force.
I'm coming to you next time I get a chest cold. Just saying.
Well, it's something that even my mother did when I was young, and she was a respiratory therapist in a hospital. So she knew those techniques, and that's even stuff that I learned in massage therapy.
That is fascinating. I like that.
Yeah.
I am all about this kink. I have learned.
Me too. Me too.
Well, here's the thing: is you think you know a fetish pretty well until you actually start discussing the stuff behind it. I did not think of a lot of things you've talked about, and I'm like, I have been in this kind of world for a good portion of my adult life. Never even thought about the things you've thought about, or you have said today. Which, kind of embarrasses me because, I'm supposed to know all this kinky crap, but I know nothing. And I love it. I love that I'm learning stuff every single day.
Yeah, it is my favorite.
It's good to have a favorite.
What got you into it?
Many, many years ago, I started working for the company Purgatory, but mainly as a soft play person, because massage therapy and all that jazz. Plus, if anything else is my true fetish, it is skin. So any kind of touch and stuff I'm really into, especially soft and all that. But then randomly one day, one of the DOMs at the crosses and such, they were going to decided they were going to try to train me up on that, and so tried a few times, and it just kind of all started flowing from there.
This episode is brought to you by sunlessuniverse.com. You ever see those sexy BDS films and go, where do they get those lovely little knickknacks and paddywhacks? Well, I'm here to tell you, sunlessuniverse.com is your one-stop shop for everything impact play to sub-dom relations. They have floggers, cuffs, collars, blindfolds. They literally have knickknacks and paddywhacks. Everything from real leather props to handmade fur cuff collars. So check it out. See what they got. They got friendly customer service, and everything is handmade here. I know the people who make them. They do meticulous work. It's the floggers both me and Shep use in our everyday personal and professional life. So check out sunlessuniverse.com. It's a whipping good time. Now, back to the show. That's awesome. Yeah, because you
Very simple thing, but led into a complex and fun years thereafter.
I like that. And you started as a massage therapist because you've given me a back massage before. And I remember it was during the Doctor Who when we were doing a fan film at your house.
Yes.
And you gave me a back massage. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me. It was my first professional massage. It opened my eyes to a world of pure bliss.
Yes. So I know how to break them down and heal them up.
Absolutely. And so not just, having to watch your internal organs, but you shouldn't go around hitting people with every manner of object. There are very important tools you can use, toys and things that are approved, safer. And I always suggest if this is your first time with this fetish, start soft, work your way up. Don't go out and buy a mace.
Yes, that's why I've made it a point to have such a wide array of floggers and impact instruments, though, to both give the receiver a chance to feel all the different types of sensations, whether it's the blunt, force trauma, or something more sharp, or something just really has a sharp sting. I tried to cover all the different sensations, and also the DOMs. There's so many different types of floggers, hardnesses of leather and everything else, so you never know what you want to be your first purchase.
Absolutely, and I highly encourage going out to, find. There are places that you can do, and all you have to do is search dominatrix, and you'll find clubs, events in your area that usually have people who are experienced in this. And yes, there are such thing as professional dominatrix and doms that do this, and they are, they're certifiably knowledged. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
And sure, those little handy dandy things you might find at a red door or such like that, though, that's no.
In fact,
Just
our
because of
sponsor.
the
Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say, just oftentimes the little generic 50 Shades of Grey junk is normally generic hard leather, and it's, yeah, crap. As you were about to say.
Oh yeah, we
Sorry.
we have a sponsor tonight. And of course, that's going to be a whole different ad read that will be interrupting this podcast. It may have already interrupted this podcast, or it might be happening right now. I don't know where I'm going to place it, but we do have an ad with Sunless Creations, who creates flogging toys. The floggers I have are in fact made by them, and they're wonderful, and they have all sorts of just fun toys for
Yes.
this.
I would say 80 to 90% of my floggers are from them, including the set that has lasted me since my early years, that they custom made me. I think I've only lost one or two tails from each of them, but yes, like what, 9, 10 years old, and they're still my best.
Soon. And the more you use them, I bet you the better they become. Especially if they're
Yes.
good quality.
Yes,
Um,
my warm up set was custom made, perfectly balanced, opposite colors of each other for Shepherd's Love and Shepherd's Wrath.
Oh, love it. I love every second of that. So, do y'all want to hear an embarrassingly painful flogging experience?
Of course.
Please.
Always.
Now, when you're participating in any type of impact play, hygiene, sterilization, safety are your number one concerns with any type of kink.
Mm-hmm.
Any type of organic material is not recommended for impact play, especially if it could draw blood. Now, let me tell you a story of a good friend of mine. She went to a fetish event where they were doing flogging with rose stems. She's into more rougher stuff. And, she likes very, very violent impact play. Now, the thing with any type of object like that draws blood, it needs to be properly sterilized. And typically, when you sterilize something, you remove all organic material. Because, any type of foreign entity that enters your body and doesn't immediately leave can lead to problems. She got a staph infection on her hind end.
Mm, mm, mm.
I know
I shouldn't be
this
laughing at that. I'm
because
sorry.
guess who had to take her to the emergency room?
Oh no.
That she now has a dimple in her butt. So, safety be known. Always practice. And we don't care how rough you want to play, just practice safety and avoid organic materials for your vlogging. Use proper safety equipment. Well, not safety equipment, but proper flogging materials. Or you'll,
Yeah.
potentially get a staph infection in your butt and then be forever known as dimple butt.
Lovely.
So we have talked a lot about flogging. Shep, is there anything else you want to add to this? Or Rebecca, do you have any more questions?
Well, not questions, but there's always so much more. I mean,
This is definitely one of those fetishes that
I
we can
will I
only.
will quickly say with the organic matter and blood and stuff like that, there are people that actually do like to get flogged until they are bleeding, or there are implements out there that could, like a dragon tail, which I have. One strike of a dragon tail could just slice your skin right open. And so, if your sub insists on taking things that far, and if you're somebody that does flog until you draw blood, make sure whichever implements you're using at the time aren't the more organic materials like leather. Leather can soak up blood. Leather can retain diseases that if they're in the blood. And how people, sorry, I doubt people have really thought about how they're going to actually clean their leather floggers if something is soaked into them.
Never even crossed my mind.
So
Mm-mm.
so use your lacquer covered or mineral oiled wood, you know, so it's no longer porous and retains the blood or whatever else. Use more leathery type of floggers maybe, so it again won't absorb the blood and so forth. Be smart about if you're going to draw blood, it doesn't trace back to your tools that you just don't notice and can't get out, and then it goes to another person and another person. Be very careful with the blood, even if it's on impact play, everyone.
Absolutely. Practice safety first. Kink responsibly.
Think about your tools before you use them.
And use the right tools for the right job. Or the right job. The right tool. Yeah. Right tools for the right job. I think we've only gone skin deep on this kink.
Ah.
I honestly really think we only went skin deep. And I think
Oh.
this is going to be definitely one of those things where we come back to it. And
I hope so, because, there's all the fun flogging techniques and different training styles and so forth and that. So much.
absolutely. And if you're listening to this and you want to know more, let us know. Say, hey, we're into this. We want to know more. And guess what we'll do? We'll do another episode. We'll do a bonus episode. We'll
Maybe
maybe even do a live stream where we can come in and answer your questions on the fly. So
I was about to say maybe a live stream where they see flogging and impact demonstrated.
we absolutely can do that. And this episode of Dinks and Kinks is presented by MJ DeVore. You might remember her from our OnlyFans episode. Well, now go check her out on OnlyFans. OnlyFans.com/TroubleDevore. She is not only one of the wildest girls I know, she's also one of the hottest. She is the freakiest, funnest person I know, and I really want to help support her. So go check out her OnlyFans. Tell her what you think of her episode. She's going to be back on doing more content with us, and we'll be doing content on her site. So check it out. OnlyFans.com/TroubleDevore. I guarantee she probably has a butt plug in right now. Check it out. Back to the show. Let us know. Follow us on Twitter at DinksWithKinks. And, anywhere you listen to this podcast, follow us. Tell us what we're doing. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us what you think. Give us your questions. We love questions. That's how we know what to talk to you guys about is what we need to talk about. Anything else you want to add, Miss Rebex?
Not currently.
All right.
Or any more questions you have for us? Curiosities?
I mean,
Hmm.
how about we save that for a bonus episode? How about that?
I like
wow.
that.
How about we do that for a bonus episode?
Are you going to
This will
follow?
be the information. Well, this is the informational one, and we'll get in more detail into another
I like that.
episode. How's that?
Because
Because I do actually have a lot of questions, and I feel like other people would have a lot of questions, only because I'm on the other end of that. So
Maybe if you get enough questions, we'll have a follow-up full Q&A podcast.
well, that's one thing I want to do. I want to start doing supplemental episodes of past subjects we've covered that I either want to retouch on or completely redo because it was in the early stage of us kind of figuring out how to podcast, or just something we didn't get to cover very well, like bondage. We put bondage back on the wheel because I feel like we were only skin deep there as well. So I feel like this will definitely make it back to our wheel of kink, and we will come back and talk even more about it. In part two,
But
we're just getting into the meats. What?
there's a lot that I don't know because I'm not, I'm on the receiving end of it. So there's a lot that I don't understand. Like, I guess maybe just trying to figure out how you, it's just a lot.
And
Are you a little
though
overwhelmed?
No, I'm
No.
never overwhelmed.
I
I'm
like
just
it.
curious.
though I will
You
say
know?
that you can't use the
Curiosity's
receiving
fun.
end as an excuse though, because those on the receiving end should actually be equally educated, if not more, so they know that they're receiving
Precisely.
properly.
I think that's the thing is I feel like for me to be safe, like
Exactly.
what should I know? You know, that type of information.
That's especially important because how can you tell if you have a good dom or not? Are you supposed to
Exactly.
just sit there and take it as a sub? Those questions will go through your
Never know.
head. Because I mean, saying for a sub, just entering there, they question that. Am I supposed to just take this? I mean, am I,
No.
am I supposed to tell them something
We
or
have
him,
we
him
have an
or
episode
her?
about that
Yeah.
called The Conversation.
Yeah.
Conversation. No.
Consent.
And actually,
Yes.
I feel like the sub has more power than the dom does. I mean,
Of course they
personally,
do.
I mean, because you have that control. You have that, like, somebody hits you too hard, draws blood, and you don't want drawn blood. Nope. You have that conversation. Make sure you're
Absolutely.
safe.
And I
Kink
think
responsibly.
Sub and Dom is actually on our wheel. So we will definitely be talking about just straight up, Sub and Dom relationships and how you develop them, what the details are with them, and what they all entail. So that said, shall we spin the wheel, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Ladies,
Indeed.
Lady and gentleman.
like, is there somebody else in there I wasn't aware of? Yes, that's always been the wheel.
Spin the wheel!
Yay.
Oh, what shall we be talking about next? Are any of y'all
What face?
Are any of y'all ticklish?
I'm very ticklish. Why?
Well, I mean that's our fetish. It was okay. So it was one of those things where it was like almost one thing that was going to be like, oh, and went to tickling. So next week we will be talking about, and yes, this is a fetish, tickling.
Oh no, yeah.
People get off tickling people and being tickled. It is essentially soft play.
Which is different than impact play. So
It is.
it's fine.
It's actually, you know what? I know I'm somewhat familiar with tickling. It is a whole different ballpark. We're about to step into a whole just basket of fun. It's going to be a laughing good time next week. So
Oh.
the
my.
puns, you can never escape my puns. Flagellation.
Oh,
Now you get it right.
All right.
End of the episode.
So that's it for us here at Dinks with Kinks. Again, remember to follow us on Twitter. Check out our sponsors for tonight. And as always, I'm John Dondero. With me, as always, Mr. Shep
Have a good evening, everyone. Till next time.
and the Rebecks.
Good night.
Y'all have a great night.